Massachusetts. I am the Reverend Monica Jacobson Tennyson. I serve this church as its minister. I use she, her pronouns. And I am so glad that you have come to be part of this online gathering, that we can make community in so many ways, even in these strange times. One of the benefits of gathering on Zoom is that we can sing, even though we have to mute ourselves and sing in our separate locations. So I'm going to share the music and the slides with the words for our introit. What we need is here. And you are invited to mute yourself and to sing along from your home. So welcome, welcome. It is still true that what we need is here, even when here means many places coming together in this Zoom room. Dennis Randall is our worship associate this morning, and he has our chalice lighting words. And you are welcome to light your chalice or your candle or tap your worship web app, whatever you've got to join in. And you're going to need to unmute yourself, Dennis. I can spotlight you, but I can't do that part.
Unmute myself. Good. We ignite our chalices with these words from Reverend David Bredson. We light this chalice, remembering and honoring our tradition and celebrating the rich diversity of traditions amongst us. As we search for justice, meaning, and purpose, may we remember that justice, meaning, and purpose live first in deeply listening to one another. And as we light our chalices, we remember Unitarian Universalists across the country and around the world who also gather today in the safest ways they know how. Many of them lighting chalices as we do.
Thank you, Dennis. We have another hymn to share now, which Rachel Azar has recorded for us. The lyrics will be on your screen, and again, you are welcome to sing along or hum or listen or contemplate them, whatever is best for you this morning.
With heart and mind and voice and hand, may we this time and place transcend, to make our purpose understood, a mortal search for moral good, a firm commitment to the goal of justice, freedom, peace for all. A mind that's free to seek the truth, a mind that's free in age and youth, to choose a path no threat impedes, wherever light of conscience leads. Our martyrs died so we could be a church where every mind is free. A heart that's kind, a heart whose search makes love the spirit of our church, where we can grow and eat heaven's gift is sanctified and spirits lift, where every door is open wide for all who choose to step inside.
My appreciation for Rachel's willingness to sing for us in these times. I hope you enjoyed hearing her voice. Jen Shattuck, our Director of Family Ministry, is off this Sunday, so I get to do the Time for All Ages, which I really enjoy doing. Lacking a wonder box, I'm simply going to hold some things up and ask you to unmute or to type in the chat, what do you think I'm holding this morning? Any thoughts?
Colored salt.
Colored salt, interesting guess. Colored sand, sand. Yeah, lots of sand guesses. You are correct, it is colored sand. What do we think I might be doing with colored sand this morning?
Mingling.
Mingling. Some of you are on it today. So I like to think about colored sand sometimes as a metaphor for community, because the sand is essentially the same stuff, and yet it also has differences, right? This one's blue, this one's white. I have gold, I have teal, I have a pink one. Don't read anything into the colors. These are just what they happen to have at Michael's, so I just So I like to think about sand when I'm thinking about the work of making a community, because there are things we have in common that bring us together, and then there are things that are different that give us variety when we come together. So prior to the service this morning, I made art with the sand. I poured it into this vase. So you can see that there are many different colors, and it is the contrast between all the colors that makes this beautiful. If this was one vase full of one color of sand, it wouldn't be very interesting. But instead you can see different shapes, different patterns, different places of contrast where some of the colors are next to each other. And I like to think about the work of being Unitarian Universalists as being kind of like the work of making this vase full of sand. That there are times where we say, oh my goodness, you know, these colors are almost the same and they blend so smoothly, and these colors are really different and they stand out against each other, and that makes it all more enjoyable. One of the important things about being Unitarian Universalists is that we celebrate our differences and our diversity, as well as celebrating the things we have in common and the things we do together to live our values in the world. So thank you for indulging me with a little sand time this morning. And I saw Cindy noting in the chat, it can also be used to make mandalas. So that is true as well. Colored sand can be used in all kinds of meditative and focusing practices. And again, the different colors enhance what you can do with it. So as we move forward in our service and we talk about mosaics and making things out of many different components, think about this vase of sand and how it comes together, flows together, sometimes even begins to merge a little bit where the sand mixes, and how it is beautiful because it is not all the same. Now we're not going to sing anybody anywhere because we're on Zoom. So that means I'm going to turn it over to Dennis for our first reading this morning. And you are muted again, Dennis.
Okay, this is a reading that is appropriate to our times. If the world is torn to pieces, I want to see what story I can find in fragmentation. I have taken to making collages. I want to see whether a different narrative might arise from poring over American magazines, tearing them up, and putting them back together in shapes that make more sense to me. When everything feels like it is coming apart, the art of assemblage feels like a worthy pastime. Those are the words of Terry Tempest Williams. Back to you, Monica.
Thank you. I have a second reading for us this morning, a poem by Paul Williams, no relation to Terry Tempest Williams. This poem is called How to Tell the Truth. When you just have to talk, try being silent. When you feel reluctant to say anything, make the effort to put what you're feeling into words. This is a place to begin. Pushing gently against the current of your own impulses is an effective technique for dislodging and discovering your truth. How to tell the truth? Taste it and remember the taste in your heart. Risk it from the bottom of your love. Take the risk of telling your truth about what you're feeling. Take the risk of telling your loved one your secrets. It's true, you might be misunderstood. Look and see if you are willing to trust yourselves to misunderstand each other and go on from there. When someone speaks to you and you feel yourself not wanting to hear it, try letting it in. You don't have to agree that they're right. Just take the risk of listening as if they could possibly be speaking some truth and see what happens. Listen as if. Listen as if you can't always tell what the truth is. Listen as if you might be wrong, especially when you know you're right. Listen as if you were willing to take the risk of growing beyond your righteousness. Listen as if love mattered. We have a second hymn to share now, again led by Rachel Azar. So I'm going to pull that up for us. And again, you are invited to sing along if you are muted, or to hum, or to simply enjoy.
Break not the circle of enabling love, where people grow forgiven and forgiving. Break not that circle, make it wider still, till it includes and embraces all the living. Come wander at this love that comes to life, where words of freedom are with humor spoken, and people keep no score of wrong and guilt, but will that human bonds remain unbroken. Join then the movement of the love that frees, till people of whatever race or nation will truly be themselves, stand on their feet, see eye to eye with laughter and elation.
A homily for us today, a homily that continues to be incredibly timely in this divided and divisive period in our nation. I've been reading a book by Terry Tempest Williams called Finding Beauty in a Broken World. She wrote it in the wake of September 11th, 2001. And she begins the book with these words. We watched the towers collapse. We watched America choose war. The peace in our own hearts shattered. how to pick up the pieces, what to do with those pieces. I was desperate to retrieve the poetry I had lost. Standing on a rocky point in Maine, looking east toward the horizon at dusk, I faced the ocean. Give me one wild word. It was all I asked of the sea. The tide was out, the mud flats exposed. A gull picked up a large white clam, hovered high above the rocks, then dropped it. The clam broke open and the gull swooped down to eat the fleshy animal inside. Give me one wild word to follow. And the word the sea rolled back to me was mosaic. Following this experience, Terry Tempest Williams went to Ravenna, Italy, to learn the art of mosaic making, where it has been practiced for century upon century. As part of learning this, she had to study the mosaics that are there, their history, their traditions, and she had to learn how to break things and put them back together. When you make mosaic, you have your materials, you have marble and gold and glass, and you have tools, stones and hammers that you can use to chip away at whatever it is that you are going to set into your mosaic. The different materials break differently. The marble is hard to break, the glass is easy. You have to learn how it will fragment and how to get it to be the size that you need. So Terry and her fellow students learned to break things in order to do this work. They learned how to make their little bits flow together to imitate the great art they saw all around them in Italy. And they learned from their teacher the 11 rules of mosaic. Luciana, Terry's teacher, said, "Mosaic has been practiced for centuries and centuries. There is no need for innovation. You simply follow these rules." So listen to these rules and see if you find them simple, because I did not. The rules of mosaic. Number 1, the play of light is the first rule of mosaic. Number 2, the surface of mosaics is irregular, even angled, to increase the dance of light on the tesserae. Tesserae are all the tiny pieces of marble and gold and glass that make the mosaic. Number 3, tesserae are irregular, rough, individualized, and unique. Number 4, if you are creating a horizontal line, place your tesserae vertically. Number 5, if you are creating a vertical line, place your tesserae horizontally. 6, the line in mosaic is supreme. The flow of the line is what matters, so the eye is never disturbed or interrupted. 7, the background is very important in emphasizing the mosaic pattern. There must always be at least one line of tesserae that outlines the pattern. Sometimes there will be as many as 3 lines defining the pattern as part of the background. 8, there is perfection in imperfection. The interstices or gaps between the tesserae speak their own language in mosaics. 9, many colors are used to create one color from afar. Different hues of the same color are always used in ancient mosaics. 10, the distance from which the mosaic is viewed is important to the design, color, and execution of the mosaic. And number 11, the play of light is the first and last rule of the mosaic. Now, reading these rules, I can tell you that I don't think I understand anything about how to construct a mosaic. I suppose I need to go to Italy and study with a master. But these rules remind me of what it is like to be in community with each other. so often when we are in relationship with other humans, we discover that the way that things flow between us is not what we expect. We might have to speak horizontally in order to go vertically. We might need to pay attention to continuing to outline what it is that we are trying to do together. We might discover that things break between us and that it takes concentration to put the broken pieces into a pattern that makes a new whole. And of course, there is perfection in imperfection, because none of our relationships are ever perfect. Maybe some of you have perfect relationships. If you do, you can tell us your secret in the chat. But I can tell you, I have never had a perfect human relationship, not once. So in the way that sometimes the universe brings things to us, just when they are most relevant, this week I've been listening to one of Brene Brown's podcasts when she has Dr. Harriet Lerner as her guest. You may know Harriet Lerner from her work on books such as The Dance of Anger, but her most recent book is called Why Won't You Apologize? And it is about the work of apology and repair in relationships when something has been broken. Brene Brown, introducing Dr. Lerner, said, "I don't know about the rest of you, but I have been needing to apologize a lot these last 6 months. Quarantining and working from home and feeling stressed and fighting over the last whatever it is at the grocery store, I have been making a lot of apologies. And I'm not sure I've done them well. So my friend, Dr. Harriet Lerner, is on our show today, and we're going to talk about the art of a good apology. And it turns out that a good apology has rules, just like a mosaic. These are Harriet Lerner's 9 essentials for a true apology. It does not include the word but. As tempting as it is, you can't say, "I'm sorry for what I did, but you were really being annoying." It keeps the focus on your actions and not on the other person's response. You apologize for what is yours to apologize for. It includes an offer of some kind of reparation or restitution that fits the situation. "I am sorry that I broke your vase. I would like to buy you a new one." Or, "I'm sorry I said those things. I will not say them again." It does not overdo. Do not fall prey to the temptation to say, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. You must think I'm the worst person. I'm sorry, I'm sorry." This is not a true apology. It doesn't get caught up in who is more to blame or who might have started it. A good apology does not say, "Well, I'm sorry for what I did, even though you were a jerk first." Or, "I'm sorry for the 3% of it that was my responsibility, but let's pay attention to the 97%. A good apology requires that you follow through and do your best to avoid a repeat performance of whatever it was that caused the hurt. A good apology should not serve to silence the other person. It shouldn't be offered to make you feel better if the act of apologizing might make the hurt party feel worse. And it does not ask anything of the person to whom you are apologizing, not even forgiveness. It is simply offered as a gift. So you might imagine that this week, these rules for mosaic and for apology have been dancing together in my head. Especially because, like Brene Brown, I confess that I have had to do extra apologizing in this pandemic time. I think that is not uncommon here in these imperfect human relationships. So I'm curious whether these rules of apology sound more or less doable to you than the rules of mosaic. Maybe you can type in the chat and say how they sit with you. Or if you don't mind being captured on the recording, you can unmute and tell us what you think. Let's talk a little bit. Do the rules of apology sound approachable? I see Dennis's hand. Oh, and I hear somebody. Let me turn off the spotlight. You can tell I'm still playing with how to do participatory
Most
worship
other
on
people
Zoom.
say things.
Judy and Chris, do you have something?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay. You want? I was thinking about what you said in terms of an apology is just that. It's not a fix. It's not. It doesn't come with conditions. I messed up. I'm really sorry that happened. You might say, can we go forward? But not, I love what you said about apologizing for your own sake and not for the other person. If you've messed up, and we absolutely all have, I'm sorry, is such a wonderful thing, and it's such a redeeming thing to be able to say. Because if you've hurt someone, you should be sorry, at least I hope you are. And I've certainly stepped in it more than once. And I'm sorry is the best thing in the world you can say. I won't go into the full length of the joke, but there's a story of someone who's done something wrong, and he's worrying about it, and he's worrying about it, and he's feeling really bad. And finally his wife says, go tell him that you feel sorry. So he does, and she says, now it's his problem. So that meaning the story in that is if you genuinely say you're sorry, and this goes along with Yom Kippur and the Day of Atonement, if you bring your apologies and make your amends to someone that you may have wronged intentionally or unintentionally, then your soul is clear. You've said, you owned what you've done. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. I don't know what caused it. And if that person will then won't accept it, then it's their burden to carry. You've freed yourself of it. So I like that you can let go of a burden of guilt or sorrow. So I have spoken.
Thank you, Judy. I see in the chat, Karen says the rules of apology are easier to understand than the rules of Mosaic. I completely agree. Still can't make mosaics, but I'm getting practice apologizing. Jane says she likes the rules. Yeah, I can share the link to the podcast. It's 2 episodes of the podcast. They had so much to discuss. It's 2 episodes and they're fabulous. Dennis, I saw your hand earlier.
I think, as somebody who has probably apologized more than others, because I have a lot to apologize for, an apology must be truthful. And it must be, this is my rule for myself, I'm not saying anybody else, it has to come from the heart. It is an acknowledgement of what I have done, for whatever reason, how justified or unjustified I was, caused harm or damage or hurt to people I care about. I don't wish to have that hurt define who we are. And it's a little bit like the bit on mosaics. I am a survivor. I build a new tomorrow out of the fragments of yesterday. We reassemble our experiences and our thoughts to be something more appropriate and kind. That's an apology.
That's so, Dennis.
Excellent. I see Charlotte is lifting up, or someone in Charlotte's household, I couldn't see who was typing. The rules for the Mosaic are about creating something new, and an apology repairs the past. Thank you. Yeah. I think a good apology can open the door to enter a new level of a relationship with the person, but yeah, primarily it needs to be about wishing to do repair on the past. One of the things Harriet Lerner says is the reason you give an apology is because you'd like to help settle some of what is unsettled. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you know what's going to happen next, but you can say, I recognize a harm here, and I want to allow the harm to begin to settle down so that we can determine what might come next.
One of the people I think we need to apologize to deliberately and thoughtfully is ourselves. We frequently, I frequently disappoint myself. And I gotta forgive me. because I'm stuck with me no matter where I go, so I might as well get along with me. And from time to time, that includes scoldings and apology and sometimes praise.
Excellent. Dennis, you've handed me the perfect segue into the rest of the homily, so thank you. The other thing I want to share from Dr. Harriet Lerner is that to apologize well requires that we have done work on ourselves and that we have a platform of self-worth from which to apologize, that we have figured out how to accept ourselves, how to love and value ourselves, and therefore we are able to make apology to others without falling into the trap of saying, oh no, I'm so sorry, I'm an awful person. So I do recommend those podcasts to you, and we'll find a way to get you the link for those of you who'd like to listen. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit more mind-blowing stuff about how mosaics come together, because I think it remains relevant to this question of human relationship. So when you learn to make a mosaic in Ravenna, Italy, you have all your little pieces of tesserae and you've set them into a kind of mixture made of lime, which is the temporary frame. After you have created your beautiful mosaic in your lime, you go outdoors, because the next thing you have to do is make a glue, which is made from dried rabbit skin. It apparently smells terrible, and you have to watch out because dogs will come from around the area because they will think there's something to eat. So you make this glue made of rabbit skin and you paint it over the tesserae that you have set into your lime, and you lay sheets of gauze across them and let the glue dry. And then you use the gauze to rip your tesserae out of the lime, and those sheets of gauze hold them in the pattern in which you made. Now, Terry Tempest Williams says that at this point, all the students handed their gauze with their tesserae to another mosaic master named Matteo. And Matteo took these sheets of gauze with the tesserae and poured cement over them and set them into frames with cement under them as well, and then grouted around them. And all the students gasped in horror when he did this, because they were pretty sure this cement was going to go everywhere and ruin all of their hard work. Days and days and days of learning to chip tesserae and to place them vertically to go horizontally. They were sure everything was ruined. And Matteo and Luciana smiled, because all students gasp the first time they see the cement poured. But after the cement dried, each student peeled the gauze away and discovered that their mosaic was there as they had created it. They had to clean it by pouring much hot water over it and scrubbing away at it with brushes. But there it was. The patterns they had made, the lines they had drawn, the ways that a dark green flower stem had just a little bit of chartreuse, which looked jarring up close, but from a distance made it look beautiful and more lifelike. Everything was there to be rediscovered, even after this frightening experience that they were sure was going to destroy it. And as they kept scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing, Luciana stopped the class and she said, "Enough. Now it is time to see the beauty, the imperfect beauty." Mosaic is a way to organize your life. Mosaic is a way to think about the world. Mosaics are created out of community. Which reminds me of one more piece of wisdom from Harriet Lerner, who says any kind of intimacy in human relationships, whether it is with family or friends, any kind of intimacy requires a huge tolerance for difference. And any kind of mosaic made from only one material would be so much less beautiful. So in this time of struggle with difference, I hope these lessons of mosaics can remind us that differences are also beautiful, and that we are people who have the capacity to bridge differences and to make real relationships that matter, including relationships in which we apologize. and make something new. I'm going to see now if Tony is able to give us a little music for reflection. And Tony, if that's not possible today, that's okay. Just let me know. Oh, thumbs up. Okay. Tony says yes.
Says maybe Paul Orner.
Thank you, Tony. Dennis has our closing words this morning, and then I will explain what is slightly different about our liturgy today.
Okay, these are the words of Reverend Dr. Kendall Gibbons. There is, finally, only one thing required of us. That is to take life whole, the sunlight and the shadows together, to live the life that is given us with courage, humor, and truth. We have such a little moment out of the vastness of time for all our wondering and loving. Therefore, let there be no half-heartedness. Rather, let the soul be ardent in its pain, its yearning, and in praise. Then shall peace enfold our days, and glory shall not fade from our lives.
Thank you, Dennis. So because we are doing this worship on Zoom and recording some of it to share, we have moved our sharing of joys and sorrows to the end. So we're going to stop the recording now. And then after we have stopped that recording, we will have a time of sharing. I have the bowl of water that we have used for the last few services and the bowl of stones. And so we will have an opportunity to share with each other, and I will place stones into the water to symbolize what is shared.